All right. Well, welcome to our live webinar called Ask ProVisor. This is going to be transparent talks for real estate professionals. My name is James Mercado. I am the president of ProVisor, and I have been in the business over 25 years. It's crazy, it's fun, it's exhilarating, and it's challenging. So today, my special guest is Shane Nelson. He is a DE underwriter. He's been in the business over 20 years. He's an expert in everything underwriting, and we're super excited to host him. So welcome to the show, Shane.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, why are you guys doing this? And I want to just share with you, when I was talking with some of my top people in my company, they said, we need to help differentiate our best referral partners so they can bring value through their expertise and knowledge so they're better equipped to serve their clients in this rough market. So to do that, we thought we're just going to bring information to everybody that we can bring information to. So one of the things was underwriting. A lot of times when you're out in the field as a real estate agent, you get confused, or maybe you don't understand certain guidelines and the difference between a guideline and an overlay. And he's like, man, I wonder what the underwriter is going to think of this. And sometimes the loan officer doesn't even know. So we thought we're just going to bring one of the best underwriters that we've worked with in 20 years onto the set and answer questions for us. So we're going to get started here, all right? So Shane, having 20 years experience in underwriting, I got lots of questions for you today, all right? I want to also remind people that if you have questions, this is live. So you can put your questions right in the chat box, and we will ask Shane your live questions. Also, if it's a confidential question and you don't want everyone to see your question, just feel free to email me privately, james@provisor.com. That's james@provisor.com. And then we'll read the questions to Shane and we'll leave your name anonymous. All right. So here's our first question. Shane, are you ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. What are things that an underwriter looks for in an offer to purchase, addendums, counters that maybe will cause negative issues on a loan? So when you have an offer to purchase come in and the addendums and all that kind of stuff, like what are some red flags that you could tell a real estate agent to be careful for?
Well, one of the biggest ones I would say is in the REC report, the condition report, where say there's a leak, they had a leak in the basement, right? It's been fixed. As long as they say there's a leak in the basement, okay, that's a flag for me. Now I got okay, got to check this out. Hopefully they put more, not just check the box, leaking in the basement, okay? Depending on what the appraisal comes back at, if he comes back or she says there's, picture of dampness in the basement, that's going to be a big problem now because we're going to want to see what happened. Was it a one-time thing? So that's one of the big points of, if you put it in there, explain it, right? Because leaking basement, it only leaked when, we get 3 inches of rain. It's an older house. It's fine. Downspouts weren't working or something where he got the problem fixed. Cool. All done there.
Okay. So it's noted in the real estate condition report that there's a leak in the basement.
Yep.
And it says, typically what I've seen, I'm sure you've seen this more than I have, only in heavy rains or something like that.
Yep.
But then what you're seeing is when the appraiser goes out there, if there's standing water.
And it hasn't rained or something make sure it's, and even in there, they can put only in heavy rains. The problem was addressed. It was, I've seen it where they put, the gutter wasn't on properly, or it was, we had to correct that. Okay, cool. Then I can, I have that in my pocket to say, and sometimes the appraiser is going to say, hey, dampness in the basement. That's it. They'll still do it as is. Cool. But if it's on there, that helps me say, well, yeah, there was dampness in the basement. It was wet. If the problem's fixed, fine. We can move it on.
So if there is some dampness in that basement and the real estate agent schedules the appraiser to go out there, I would think they'd want that cleaned up before, especially if it's like the house is vacant or something.
Yes. That's one of the things I would tell them, like, hey, if you're going to do this and these problems, which I assume you're supposed to disclose them, so the customer would know, maybe try to do it when it's not, or if there is, I'm not saying try to cover up because you want the buyer to be, all informed as well. So I'm not, you don't want to be shady, but something that's not really a big deal can be a big deal if it's on there.
So if it's minor, rectify the situation beforehand. If it's major, you're going to have to deal with it head on.
Right. Yep. Same with their, cracks in the walls, and, or something saying something about the foundation. Sometimes it's just, it's an older home. It's a crack in the wall. It was inspected. Fine. no big deal.
Does it matter to you if there's the more details inside that real estate condition report, or if you just want a letter of explanation from the seller in a separate Word document?
I'd rather have it in the report.
Okay, in the report.
Because there is room on the bottom of that stuff to explain stuff.
Explanation.
Yeah, so I'd rather have it there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, either way would work, but if it's in the report.
So make it clear, concise,
Yep.
and keep it simple.
Right.
Right.
I mean, less is better, but you got to be
Clear and concise.
clear and concise and do the right thing for your customers.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Okay. That's a common problem we see with these real estate condition
That's the main
reports.
thing, yeah, for an offer to purchase. That's the main, like, that's one of our biggest problems is not problems, but pain points is that report. You know, I mean, some of them don't even have them, or they'll say, you know, they're the nice ones. I haven't lived here in 20 years, so boxes are all checked, sweet.
But you don't know.
Yeah, right.
Now, let's say that's the case. They haven't lived there, but now the appraiser's just going out there and the real estate agent walked the property when they listed and they see problems then. They need to be proactive before that appraiser gets out there.
Right.
Right.
Because, you know, appraisers are like us. They're all different. So, I mean, appraiser might go in there and might not even pay attention or say anything. Fine. So it, you know, it's another variable of there is something and, you know, we don't see it and the appraiser comes back and says something. Well, then, yeah, okay, we might have to come back and say, hey, what is this? And if it's just an appraiser, usually they'll mark it as is anyways, then we're fine, but we still might want a little, well, what was that? Or, you know, I see some of this. Can you explain?
Do you want that to come back from the appraiser more information, or do you want it to come back from the seller?
If it's to the appraiser at that point, the appraiser.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that are mentioning it, and then I would be like, hey, what, you know.
And then typically then that appraiser usually has to go back out to the house a second time if they want it rectified.
Typically, yes. Sometimes they won't, depending on what the question was.
Okay.
I mean, if we're just asking a question of, hey, you put this on there, they can come back and just say, you know, no, it was just this I saw, it's fine. But if they have to go back up there and say, well, I need to fix, well, no, you need to fix, that's a whole different story.
And it slows you down and it slows the whole process down.
Correct, yep.
And then we're in a market right now where there's very low inventory. So when somebody finally gets that accepted offer, it's better to have this done up front so it can go through underwriting faster.
Correct.
Would that be safe?
Yes, you know, it all starts from the beginning, right? You do it good here, all the way through, it's gonna be a lot better.
Okay.
Kind of like anything.
Yeah.
I mean, but yes, we'd rather have it right away, try to be proactive. You know, there's just because you tell me something doesn't mean it's a diehard thing. Like I mean, per se.
Yes.
I mean, how do I say that? Like,
bottom line is do a better job up
right,
front.
right.
Be more thorough, and it's going to go through your desk a whole lot faster because everything stops with you. Like the real estate agent can do a great job, the appraiser can do their part, the loan officer can be brilliant or maybe less than brilliant, somewhere in between. But when it gets to your desk, it's kind of like you're in charge and you call the shots and nothing happens till you say it's okay. That's a lot of power.
Yeah. It is. It's good and bad.
And you're telling us, do it up front, do the right thing on behalf of your client, disclose things properly, get it rectified so you can sign off on it and get on to the next.
And if you have if you have a question, ask someone.
Fair.
Call one of your, I mean, just call your LO, they can call us.
You know what we could do? We could post his cell phone number in the chat.
Well,
I'm just kidding, Jay. All right, let's go to the next question. What are the top couple of things that you see in the offer to purchase contracts that you wish that a real estate agent would do or not do when writing their offers?
I guess some of the main things I see is when they put in offers of personal items like pool tables or.
Speak to that. What's wrong with that?
Well, because you can't have that in offer to purchase. It can't be any personal property that's worth anything towards, you know, in the purchase. So you can put it in there if the customer really wants to put it in there. Fine, put it in there, or either keep it out, or when you put it in there, make sure you're saying those items have no value, and then that's fine, perfect.
So what cannot happen, would this be correct? If let's say you're buying a house for $350,000 and they're throwing in the pool table and the foosball table and the air hockey table, and they say that those items are worth $5,000, so they increase the purchase price by $5,000. Can't do that.
No, take that out, work it between yourselves. Fine. I mean, if you want to do that, you can work it in without telling us you're doing it.
Okay, so it's part of the transaction, but these 3 items have
no personal value. Right. I mean, if that's the way you came up with your price, cool, but just tell me there was no personal value.
And you need that as an underwriter to be clear.
Yep, I do.
Okay, that's excellent. there something else that you see that's a frequent problem that slows everything down in the process that our real estate agents could say, oh, I didn't know that. The underwriter, I didn't learn that before. I wasn't aware of that. What's something else that maybe be a problem?
Like I said, the RACR report is we already talked about.
Yes.
Is the main one. Otherwise, just if you have counters and you have addendums, and include them all. Sometimes they just, they want to send just the first, send it in, and then there's counters that we didn't see or whatever. Like, oh no, that was countered.
So that is a systemic issue that you see, that other counters come post accepted offer and you don't get them till like the last second, or don't get them at all.
So by the time I deal,
Yes.
It's not a ton, but yeah, I'll see where there had to be something here, because you'll see there's a change in purchase price, or earnest money different or something, where you're like, okay, something had to happen where, I don't know.
It's kind of like you're an investigator of the loan, right? I mean, you're like, this doesn't make sense, like CSI.
Right. And then I'm, not saying waste my time, but then I'm working on, instead of getting a deal out and doing this, I'm working on, okay, now why, trying to figure out the puzzle without all the pieces, which is obviously hard to do.
Right.
And anything you do.
Right.
Also, make sure everything's signed and dated or initialed.
Is that a common problem that you see counter offers or addendums not signed?
Yeah, I even offer to purchase. The seller won't sign more. They're just, and they have to have them. I'm sure there's somewhere they just send in the wrong one, maybe, or it's the initial, or.
So it goes back to just doing a better job up front, right?
Yep.
What about, is this names? Like sometimes people have hyphenated names, in today's world, maybe they don't take the partner's last name, or they have middle initials or no middle initials, or they're a junior. But talk to me about the nightmare that causes for you when the names on the contract do not match the names on the ID and do not match the names on the loan application. What happens?
It's a big problem, because here's what happens. We have to have everything matched. So title, appraisal. So you have a name that's hyphen on this, not on this, or different last name. We're going to either have to go get a new title, go back to the appraiser, get that updated. Whatever the actual name is, got to be what that is.
Okay, so I want to disclose to everybody, you do not work for ProVisor.
I do not.
He is not an employee of our company. He works for a very large national company that he underwrites for. So you see this from lots of different lenders. This isn't a ProVisor issue.
Right. No, this is
a nationwide.
Right. Yeah. This isn't just this is the whole broad span thing. Yes.
Okay.
It's everywhere. Yes.
So it's a problem across our industry.
Yes.
And what you're saying is, if I'm the real estate agent, I'm drafting the offer, and everyone calls me Jimmy, and they're like, okay, Jimmy, boom, boom, and then my license comes through as James, and the title comes through as Jim Jr. You're like, we got a mess.
Yep. And now I'm like, okay, well, which one are we using? Well, I go by this, but I sign this way, but on title I want this way. It's like, well, no, you got to pick one. What's your actual name? What do you go by? What's legal? What's so it's got to all match up.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a different, like, depending on what you're choosing is what we're gonna have. Like if your ID is different, okay, I just need LOX. Hey, this was my name. Let's change this. Everything else is fine. But now the title, the appraisal, insurance, that stuff's different. Then we're gonna have to change everything else, because those all have to match.
Even if you have a different name for religious purposes or things of that name, it still has to go back to all being the same.
Correct.
Okay.
We can do like also known as, but it's still got to be there. Whatever name they're using, also known as.
All right. So it's just important up front to make sure that offer to purchase matches and is the same all the way through.
Correct.
Let me ask you this question. If they pull credit under Jimmy Mercado and my legal name is James Mercado, and Mercado's a popular name in the Latino culture, so would you require somebody to pull credit under the proper name as the loan application if everything matches, but the credit report says Jimmy, but everything else is James? Would they have to re-pull credit for that?
So, a tricky question. I mean, yes, we want it to be correct. So what I have to do is I have to run it through a system. DU, I don't know if everyone knows what these systems are, but I have to run it through that. So if I can run it and it doesn't flag me saying it's fine,
okay,
I'll be fine with it with an LOX. Here's what it is.
But as the underwriter, if it flags you, what happens?
Then I need to re-pull credit with the correct.
So now let's say we pull credit under Jimmy and his score is an 800, but James, you make us pull new credit and his score is a 620 because there was a credit card that he forgot to pay in college what
Yeah,
happens?
big problem.
Okay,
I mean, we have to use that new credit.
you do.
Yes, because that's the correctly pulled credit.
Is that the reason why DU flags it? Because there's an alias out there and they want to get all the credit picture?
Right, they're trying to make it more accurate, like, hey, make sure this is the correct person, you know.
Would you say that happens more than once a year?
Yes, more than once a year. I mean, it's not a huge problem, but it happens. I mean, it even happens where you're flying through your application, right? You put the wrong social security number, not wrong, but one number or something. Didn't really realize it, right?
Like they
Didn't
fat
know.
fingered it or
Yeah,
something.
just whatever, didn't realize it, ran it, everything, and then it comes to us. And I'm trying to, okay, all of a sudden, there's a flag here, oh, what's this? And then you ran the credit with that, and now I gotta go back and rerun the credit.
So the borrower might have just put their social security number in wrong when they fill out the secure online application.
Or whoever transferred it to the application, whoever writes out the application or whatever, it could have been, misdone there as well.
And then they could pull an incorrect credit report and no one catches it
Right.
until the CSI master, Shane Nelson, gets it. Like, whoa, we're off a digit here.
Yep.
And that's probably not an unusual thing that happens.
No, like you said, people are just like can get through stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's not, most cases it's caught pretty quick. So depending on when you pull credit, it won't change that much, but depending, I guess, when you take the application to when it gets submitted, I guess, it's a kind of a, if you took the application and then submit it for a month and then credit was pulled when you took it, because obviously you can use the credit report for a certain number of days.
Yeah.
So it comes back to also now you're 2 months, I got to repull credit. That's when the problem comes.
Got it. Okay. So that is a real issue.
Yeah.
So if you were sitting down with a real estate agent and you said, listen, for me to make your loan go as simple as possible, it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is like, the details matter.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Said, get it right first.
Up front.
That much smoother. Up front, get the whole story, make sure everything's correct. It helps a ton.
So
It helps in quickness, everything.
I'm going to change the name to protect the parties, but you and I were talking off camera before, and we had a customer whose name was John Doe. All right. He applied for the loan. His name is John Doe. Somehow in the process, we find out that his name is Saddam Hussein. Okay. And we didn't know his name was Saddam Hussein. The offer says John Doe. Everything says John Doe, but an alias comes up Saddam Hussein, and we call him, and he says, oh, yeah, I legally changed my name to Saddam Hussein. He forgot to tell us. Kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah, I agree. So that's why talking to your customer, get it up front. Like, just, hey, ask them those kind of questions. It's your real name. That's what you use. Do you have any other names? Like, and I know it's probably hard because they're getting telephone, they're getting internet stuff, so they're probably not, but that's the problems that it brings when you do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed, I don't know if you have, but I've noticed a lot more people changing their names as adults. Maybe they go from Kyle to Kylie or something like that, and I've seen that to be more of an issue that comes up on an alias. And even in today's world of diversity, you probably have seen an increase in that. So we have to be extra thorough with that.
Yeah, just ask them. I mean, you're not prying too much. It's just normal information, right? So it's not, too bad.
I've heard that some files get pulled for quality control or QC check. Is that really true, or is that just one of these myths?
No, it's true. So what happens is, I do my thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's always checks and balances. So they do a certain percentage of files that they'll have someone else in our company that's what they do. They'll pull files here and there just to go over what I did. So that's where you get that from. So saying, well, it's got to go through them first. And, we try to do it where as you go, we're doing it, trying to make the pain points less. But sometimes at the end, that's when it happens. So
it is what it is, right?
I mean,
Fannie Mae guideline.
Right. I mean, or just sometimes it's just they don't agree with it's because it's humans doing this, right? I'm the underwriter. They're trying to say, well, maybe you should have did this. So it's a double check.
And ultimately, this QC audit is random. They're not like targeting files. They're not like, hey, we're going to go after Susie Smith, the underwriter, because we think Susie Smith's sloppy, so we're going to target her files. It's a random request.
It's a random. So, I mean, there's a couple. So there's a QC, right? So that's like in my department, at my place, they randomly just, 5% of the files you do for every underwriter, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know how they pick them. They don't tell us. Probably because they don't want us to try to do different stuff. But after the fact too, so say your loan's done, right? There's also, that's when we get into Fannie and all that kind of stuff where we're going to send it, we'll get random checks. Loan's already done. I mean, it's a different topic.
Yeah. It's a post-closing issue.
It's post-closing, but it's a review, it's quality review.
But it's still in the back of your head when you're working on a file.
Because, like you said, like I'm done with my file, you're done with your file, realtors are done, loans closed, sweet, they're all good, right?
No.
They're good.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, it could still get, come back to me. I still have to fight or not fight, but
Explain.
Hey, this is what it is. So it's kind of comes back to me, which is why in the beginning, you want everything as clean as possible. So when it does get picked at the end, yeah, there's nothing there. Cool.
All right. We have some questions from our live audience. So 1 second here. All right. Question is, what address should be used in the offer? The mailing address, the legal address, or the post office address?
Address for
the property address, subject property.
Legal address.
The legal address, like what you find on
like what's
tax bill.
Yes.
Okay. So the address in the offer should be the legal address that you would find on the tax bill, not the mailing address.
Not the mailing address. And there's, I mean, there's ways around that. Depending, like you said, their addresses now are different these days too. Some of them, like your mailing address is like Slinger, but your home address is Hartford. I mean, there's weird things like that.
Right. Where there's crossover, like, right? It's a list right there.
Right.
Like, that and that, right?
Yeah. So I would say legal address. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes there are two different addresses. Like, well, it could be either.
Right.
You just go with the legal.
Well, there was a time where I lived in the city of Delafield, but my address was Heartland.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So the tax bill said Heartland, even though I live in the city of Delafield. So it should be 111 Main Street, Heartland, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question from our live audience here is, Shane, do you check anything about the seller when you are approving a loan for the buyer? This is real CIA stuff, guys.
No.
You CCAP the seller?
No, I have no reason to, unless something would pop up somewhere, I'm not.
I got a question for you. What about the seller's title? Do you look at that to see, let's say the house is $400,000 and they have a $250,000 mortgage. No big deal. But all of a sudden you see they have a $300,000 IRS tax lien on title. Do you look for that stuff on the seller side or not really?
I'll see it on title, but that's really not, that's something they're going to have to do to sell the house, right? I mean, that'll be taken care of. I'm not looking at that, no.
So would you suggest that the listing agent and the real estate agent should also be reviewing the seller side just to make sure that there's no potential cash flows issues?
I would, yes.
Would that be wise?
Yes, I would, yeah. I mean, the more you.
But you're not worried about it.
I'm not really worried about it.
Your job's get the loan cleared.
Yep.
Okay.
And for the buyer.
For the buyer, right? Okay. Excellent questions. Keep your questions coming. Put them in the chat box. We're here with Shane Nelson right now. He's an over 20-year veteran in the underwriting world. He does not work for ProVisor. He works for a national company, but he's graciously come to our office here in Brookfield to answer some questions. So we're going to keep going here. Shane, here's a question that was submitted. How come people cannot use a money order to pay their earnest money? What are acceptable formats to pay earnest money? Is cash acceptable?
Cash is not acceptable. You can use not acceptable. Cash is
welcome to the new America. Nobody wants cash.
No, that's everywhere you go now.
Right.
Go to the brewer game.
No cash. Right.
No, you can use a money order. That's fine.
You can. Okay.
You gotta be able to source it. Meaning, I need to see a bank statement where that came from.
So I can't take my money that I just want to pot out of me, go get a cashier's check from the post office and use that as a.
Well, you could if you deposit it in there and you gave me proof of where it came from.
Okay.
The gambling, which unless you want a ton, you're not going to be able to prove that. But you got to be able to prove it. Bottom line. So you can't just come up with, oh, there's $5,000 cash, like I said, under my mattress here. This is what I use.
So I can use a cashier's check if I can trace the money.
Correct.
But if it's mattress money or money in your safe, and I use that to get a cashier's check, you're not going to. We count that?
No.
No. Okay.
Because it's cash on hand.
Okay.
So what we try to say then is like, if you're talking to your customers, right? Mm-hmm. Try to have them, if that's the case, try to have them get it in the bank account before, so they're not just coming in. So I can see, I mean, there's different rules of how much I have to source. So I don't want to say like that I won't have to source it.
Right.
It depends, but
right. It's complicated. Talk to the loan officer about that.
It's complicated, but try to get in the bank account before.
So I would suggest then, if you're a real estate agent, you're talking to a borrower like, hey, you know, we've got this money. My grandma gave it to me. It's in my safe. That real estate agent should probably contact the loan officer. Hey, listen, these people got cash.
Yeah.
How should we handle it?
Yes.
Because the rules are different for the amount of cash it is. Would that be correct?
Yes, and depending on what program you go with.
Got it. And the loan program.
Yeah, loan like Fannie, Freddie, FHA, USDA.
Like anything in the real estate industry, it's complicated.
Correct.
All right. Another question that came in: what is a collateral underwrite of an appraisal?
So what that is after we see the appraisal, if it's kind of a, say, shaky appraisal, meaning there's some flags here or there, that's another source to go look. We can go look at it and look at, like, so they'll have a whole list of all the comps in the area of where this property is. So we're kind of going to see a double check to see, hey, does this appraisal have some of the same comps that they should have?
Are you just is this like kind of being big brother over a licensed appraiser, just checking the quality?
It's us checking the appraiser. I mean, they're the professionals, so you know, it's just us kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of a
trust but verify.
Yeah, kind of like that. So we kind of have, okay, let's go look at this, make sure, you know, it's all.
After the appraisal is completed, can it adversely affect the appraisal? Like, so the appraiser does his job, he submits it to you. The collateral underwrite can negatively affect the appraisal as well?
I mean, it could, if we saw something, we're like, hey, but we just go back to the appraiser and then say, explain why you did this. Explain why you didn't use this comp. That right here should, you know, look way better than the 3 you used, something like that.
Got it.
So it could affect it, but most of the time it's, oh, I didn't use it because whatever the reason.
When you say we go back, do you, the underwriter, go back, or do you go back to the loan processor and then they contact the appraiser?
It's both, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, depending on, it can be both, I guess.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. It seems like underwriting is, this is that whoever wrote this question is spot on. It seems like right now that underwriting is nitpicking many clients more and more these days. I've heard loan officers say that the economy is contracting, credit is tightening. At the end of the day, it seems like underwriting is being so picky right now. Like when we were in COVID and everyone was busier than busy because rates were in the 2s, it seemed like things were just flying through. But now that business is slower, it seems like you guys are pickier. What's going on?
It would seem that way.
Why is that?
And that's not us per se, the underwriter. So,
okay.
So what happens is I underwrite the loan, right? And then it's got to get sold somewhere, right? So the investors or Fannie or Freddie, these guys got all the time in the world now, right? So now they're coming back, tightening their rules, meaning they're being more strict, more
literal.
Like COVID, obviously, was a whole different time.
Yes.
So it was so busy that, I mean, they couldn't do anything.
Right.
They try to do a couple, but whatever, they're all making fine. So it's not, we're not nitpicking. They're tightening up, meaning more by the letter of the law they're going by. There used to be things where they'd be, okay, that's fine, you know, common sense, we can do that. But now they're just starting to stick more to what it's saying in their guidelines.
So what you're saying, Shane, let me ask you this question. So you work for a national company, you see files in multiple states.
Yep.
And what you're saying is the agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, USDA, the Veterans Administration, they are getting more nitpicky and they're putting the pressure on you.
Right.
On each end. So this isn't a unique thing to Milwaukee or to Chicago or to ProVisor. This is a national systemic.
This is everywhere, right? It is. And it's like I said, they've got way more time on their hand now. So now they're digging in more. You know, just digging in. I mean, because really, a lot, I'm saying most, but I mean, you could probably find something they don't like for every loan you do. Something that, a lot of these loans aren't cookie cutter loans anymore, right?
Right.
Very difficult loans. So that it probably can be something that they don't like. They go through every loan. Just hope to be that it's pretty easy and correctable, which is why I try to, you know, so it's not me being, you know, over. I'm trying to file. I want your loan sold, right? So everyone's happy.
Right.
So I want to. It comes into where I'm thinking what I should do, but then it's got to go to them in the back end, which is.
So let me ask you this question. So we see loan applications are down to the lowest level since 1996. All right. Are you seeing? So we're in a slower market. So are you seeing an increase in loan denials, percentage-wise, not volume-wise, but are you seeing more loans being denied now than normal? I read a statistic that last month we had a 16% increase in loan denials year over year. Now I don't know, I can't cite the source because I didn't write it down, to be honest with you. So the reality is, are you as an underwriter seeing more loans being denied because of nitpickiness?
I don't think I am. I think the loans are just, they're harder, they're more complicated. But I don't think we're declining more loans than we ever had before, percentage wise. I think for the most part, when we get the loan on my side, the LOs they're doing a pretty good job of figuring out, hey, we should be able to do this, right?
The ProVisor LOs are doing that, right?
Great job.
Excellent, thank you.
I mean, so when we get the loan, yeah, there might be some problems, but for the most part, most cases we should be able to get it done. Unless something with the appraisal falls through, or whatever. I mean, there's certain cases where you just can't.
So this goes back to like the beginning when I first brought you on the show. Is like the details matter up front. Like if the loans are harder, they're more complicated. What we call in the industry, they're hairier. So you want us to do a much better job up front, which means slow down up front. So when it gets to you, even though it's a hairier, messier, complicated file, if you can tie everything out and it's logical, what does that mean for you?
Great. Tell me the story so I know the story. Because you get this, the story as an LO, right? Or real,
The real estate agent.
Story. So I'm trying to piece that. If it's something that's hard or out of the norm, tell me it. Give me a cover letter saying, hey, just so you know, this, and this, whatever it is.
Just something like this. Let's say the customer has excellent credit. And then all of a sudden there's a patch where they have horrific credit. And now they're starting to reestablish. That would be something like what happened, right?
Right. Like what? Yeah.
So would you, I know this is subjective, but would it make sense to say, listen, my partner got cancer. I had to take FMLA leave. We were tight on cash. I had to pay the medical bills versus paying the car payments. But, we got through all that now and we'll reestablish ourselves. Does that help?
It does help because then I can see it. Like I can see they did this, then they went down to this, and they're back here, right? So that they'll even come into like, I'm assuming your income was probably, so that would tie in the kind of like, hey, what happened here? You were making this less. Well, I was on disability or something, right? And then now on this. As long as I can see your back and prove it, cool. But I need to know that kind of stuff. Well, just didn't feel like paying, or it will help me make my decision quicker, better, instead of going back and forth. Hey, what's this? Well, let me check. What's this?
Is the reason you need that is for after the loan is funded, the real estate agent's been paid, the customers haven't hosted Packer games in their house or whatever, and the file's off to Fannie Mae, and the Fannie Mae pushes back on it. Now you have the ability to say, here's what happened, and you can just explain it.
And I can explain that before I send it to them too. I can put it in my notes saying, hey, this is why I made my decision. So if I already know it's going to be they pick it a problem file, I can put it in my notes. Here's what level, here's what it was.
So you said something earlier that was fascinating. So the real estate agent's the gatekeeper. We all know that. They're buying them coffee on Saturdays. They're showing them houses. They're entertaining their children while they're looking at properties. So they get to know them really, really well. And then the loan officer is the money person, and they're structuring everything behind the scenes. So everyone's got a relationship with this person but you. And you actually have the most authority in the whole transaction.
That's why it's tough.
You need us to paint a very clear picture so when it gets to your desk, you don't have to dig.
Real estate agent, let you know everything, right?
Yes.
Then you'll let us know. It's just the whole domino effect. Like I said, start in the beginning.
Because honestly, we don't have to look at you as the bad guy, do we? I mean, I know you personally, you're a nice man, but sometimes it's like,
but hey, when somebody's got to be the bad guy, it's going to be the underwriter, right?
Yeah,
that underwriter,
it's the underwriter's fault.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're still on the same team. Yeah. You just need to know.
I want these loans closed just like you guys. I mean, no one makes any money unless loans close.
Right. And no one gets the joy of homeownership.
Right.
Unless we get a loan closed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when my parents got their first house, I was just a little kid. And I remember, how proud they were of owning their first home and building a snowman in the backyard and playing catch with the ball. It was a big deal. It changes the fabric of a family.
And today, like I said, the world, everyone's quick. Everyone wants stuff done like this. Like, you gotta have expectations too. It's going to take a little bit. You can't just.
That leads into my next question. So obviously, we came out of the mother of all refi booms when rates were in the twos. All right. And everyone was staffed up accordingly. And now, unfortunately, the reality is business is much slower. It's much harder. Rates are higher. Inventory is lower. We've also seen lots of companies adjust staffing. In your opinion, moving into 2024 and 2025, since most companies have downsized their staff, is that going to create a problem as we get into the spring market here? Because we're statistically still busy in spring. Is it going to slow underwriting down? Should real estate agents and loan officers be prepared for slower turn times going into the spring market because everyone had to pare their staff down?
I wouldn't say that. I think our turn times are still pretty good. We're still within 48 hours of most things. I mean, yes, staff's been down, files are down. As far as our company, we're adjusting pretty well. And I think if it does.
Is that because of your exemplary leadership or is it just because you're awesome?
Yes.
Maybe that's my question, Shane. All right, so here it is. Shane, in your 20 years of experience, how many appraisals have you actually seen? How many appraisers have you actually seen change the value on their appraisal? Ooh, that's a great question.
It's not many. Maybe 2 or 3 if they actually made an actual mistake on square footage or something that they miscalculated. But as far as appraisal, it's their opinion, right? That they're paid to do that. So
rebutting the appraisal,
it's I can say it's a waste of time. But unless you've got a diehard,
I'm trying not to say it to everybody, just for the record.
Like there was one case where, the square feet were 500 square feet off. It was like an appraiser, and then so it was switched. But that's a rare case though. Like usually, not the way it is.
Got it.
But otherwise, yeah, you'll be hard pressed to get an appraiser to change it.
Okay. So what happens when the real estate agent says to the loan officer, get another appraisal?
You can't just get another appraisal because you don't like it. That's just
why.
Sorry. It's not the way it works.
Okay.
It's just like life. You can't just, I don't like it, give me something else. Like that's costs money. They're licensed appraisers, right? So this is what they do. You can't.
Did that get recorded anywhere? Like, how come? Like, I still think, and I don't want to put you on the spot if you want to take the Fifth Amendment on this, because some of the stuff is just your trade, and I understand that trade secret, however it works. But like, if I'm just sitting here thinking, well, all right, I think this appraisal sucks. Here's my comps as I listed the house, and here's how I come up with the value, and I don't agree with the appraiser, so I want you to order a new appraiser from a different appraiser. In my head, I think, what's the big deal? It's just a second opinion. Like when I go buy a car, I want to get a second opinion or something like that. Why can't they do that? Is it something with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac?
Yeah. So it comes down to getting these things where they go. Like if Fannie, Freddie, if you're already logging these and it's in their system.
You mean logging them? What is it?
Whatever they do, the SSRs, or meaning it's some, I don't call it.
So it's part of the collateral underwrite, right?
Yeah, kind of part of that. So it's going to be in a system once the appraisal gets done, right? It's in a system that they have that they know appraisal is done.
Got it.
So it's in there.
So all that data goes in there.
Right.
And now you're saying, hey, that appraiser, basically we're saying is incompetent on this.
Which, order. You can take that back. It'd be an exception, I should say.
Okay. Where
if you really think, hey, okay, send it to us, we can see, and I can see what I can do to go and, present the case of, hey, this appraiser, these are the better comps. Let's look at this, and we can do it that way.
So I could tell everybody listening, it's possible, but not probable.
Right. It's possible. Right. Yes.
Okay.
I would say that. Yes.
All right. Another question from our audience. As an underwriter, that's you, not me. What are you looking for in condo docs that realtors asked to get?
So, to be honest, I don't really do condos. I don't do condos anymore because it's changed so much. So we have a whole condo department that does all that.
Got it.
So I'm not very familiar with, because the rules are changing.
They
need more stuff now. And the problem is like the Floridas of the world. Everything went bad with all those condos, right?
Right.
So now they're making,
or even structure, like some of these.
Yes, right. Well, even
old buildings, like down even in Milwaukee, where they take the old warehouse, they turn them into condos. How do we know, or how do you know that the structure is safe?
Right.
And you're putting humans in there. You're not putting boxes in there anymore.
Right. And so they're tight. Talk about tighten rules. Condo, from what I hear, is they're doing way more because they're a lot more riskier apparently, like I said, for that reason. So it's,
Do you see a higher, in your professional opinion, is there a higher default rate on a condo over a single family?
I don't think in our market area,
Okay.
well, you know,
But maybe when you get the coasts or
yeah,
something.
I mean, could be, but I don't think so, but I'm not sure. To tell you the truth, for the whole US. I mean, Florida maybe.
All right. So we're going to start to wrap this up. Last question. One of the areas that we want to focus on with our clients is to set proper expectations up front. What are some best practices I should employ, and how do you recommend I set the table for them when discussing underwriting in this current market? Because now what happens is we've had some parents get involved, say, when I bought my house 3 years ago or 13 years ago or 33 years ago, we didn't need that.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we need it. Why?
I mean, that's just the way the world works, right? I mean, we also did loans back in the day where I didn't look at income at all, right? You got 800 credit scores, sweet, here you go. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy in this world? You'd be like, what? You did that?
Yes.
I mean, that was the downfall
right
back in 08.
Set us up for the Great Recession.
Yeah, right. But I mean, expectations, like we talked about before, be upfront. I mean, let your customers know this is what we're going to need. Like, just tell them everything that they may need. Answer your phones. Like, if we got to call you, I've got a question. Like, and it's hard.
Answer the phone. That's a novel concept, right?
Like, it's hard to say. Like, just be ready. You may need more information, right? You may need some more stuff. I mean, sorry, it's not just here's the paper. Where's my loan? Like, and I mean, I would say a good close. I mean, 30 days. I mean, I can do better than that. I mean, there are rushes.
Well,
right. Yeah. But I'm saying for expectation wise, like, I don't think 30 days is too bad. We do a lot in 15 days. I mean, they're all over the board, but to set an expectation, that's just like.
So you can do it faster, but
yeah.
That's when mistakes usually happen, and then we push back and people get frustrated.
Right. And when you're doing faster, let me tell a story. Let's have everything there.
You need a complete file up front, so you get it done quicker.
Right.
Which goes back to the details matter up front.
Right. Yep.
All right. So this is my own personal question for you as a professional. You've been in it over 20 years. I've been in it over 20 years. I think part of the reason the underwriting is super anal and causing lots of nitpicking right now is so we don't relive 2008. What do you say?
That could be their thought. We don't want to go back to, everything getting flipped around again. But I like I said, I think a big thing is they've got a lot of time. They're just gonna go by the book now, and that's what it's gonna be. It goes in circles where they'll start relaxing again once loans, they need more loans. They get busy. You're like, okay, I'll start relaxing. I just think it's just one of those things where you give people more time to do stuff, they're going to do their job, and they're going to do it. Like, what else am I going to do? Let's go through this loan again. So something else.
Right. You give them 3 hours worth of work, they're going to take 8 hours to do it. You give them 20 hours worth of work, they're going to get done in 8 hours. Yeah, right. So we need to get busier so we can maybe have a little bit more grace on the underwriting component.
Right.
I would say.
That's a good point. It could be. I mean, they don't want stuff to happen as well. They're trying to make sure,
well,
they'll do it.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking time away from your office and from your family and coming over here to share with our real estate professionals online. And it's been a great joy. You are a wealth of knowledge. I've learned a few things, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank the audience for tuning in. I just want to share that we are going to be doing this the second Wednesday of every month, the same time. And next month, we're going to be having a local appraiser, someone who appraises homes. So get your questions ready, get your complaints ready. We're going to dig deep on this whole value thing. And I know the listing agents would like to ask some questions when you have these comps and how come they're not using the comps you use when you do your market analysis. So please come next at the next one. We'll remind everybody about it. But I just wanted to say thank you. If you found some value to this, invite your peers. We just want to bring value to the community. We want to help everybody. We want to make this better. This is a tough market right now. I've been doing this over 25 years. One of the toughest markets I've walked through. But the reality is we can come together. We can sharpen each other. We can encourage each other. And we can walk through this with a high level of excellence. So thanks for joining our show today. Ask ProVisor, transparent solutions for real estate professionals. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.